In this video, let's look at some creative ways to use ChatGPT to write a movie script or something for a short film. In this example, I started off with give me ideas on a synopsis for a movie. Then ChatGPT gives me some ideas. As you can see here, a group of high school friends reunite 10 years after graduation to solve a mystery that haunted them since they were teens. A young woman discovers she has the power to time travel and must use her abilities to prevent a catastrophic event from occurring. The last one is quite interesting. A group of space marines are sent on a mission to a distant planet to investigate a mysterious alien signal, only to uncover a deadly conspiracy that threatens the entire galaxy. And then next, I chose idea number 4 and I say expand on 4. Sure, here's a more detailed synopsis for a movie based on the 4th idea, and it's a fairy tale kind of a storyline here, a bit like a Disney-ish. So in a kingdom far, far away, a beautiful princess is blessed with the gift of magic. However, her powers are not strong enough to defend the kingdom from the evil sorceress. And the next prompt that I gave me a description of the backstory of every character in this story. So ChatGPT gives me a breakdown of every single character that they outlined above, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters here. The main character, the evil character, the knight, the thief, the wizard. And the next prompt that I gave is make this story into a short film, break down the scenes that should be in it. And then we have an opening scene, the introduction. Aurora flees her home, meeting the heroes, journey to defeat the villain, final showdown, and triumphant conclusion. So it's quite a basic start, conflict, and then resolution kind of a story here. And in the next few conversations, you're going to see something quite similar. ChatGPT, in terms of generating a storyline, seems to follow this very cliche. I'm not sure if cliche is the right word, but a very basic structure in terms of a storyline. So in the next prompt, I asked for more conflict into the story here. It expands a bit more. In the next prompt, I asked give me the scene breakdown for this. This is the same as the previous one, just that it has more conflict. And then I wanted it to expand on number 5, which is journey to defeat the villain. The group travels across the kingdom facing various dangers and challenges along the way, including various monsters, treacherous terrain, and loyal followers of Maleficent. Aurora must also grapple with her own insecurities and self-doubt as she struggles to come to terms with her newfound magical powers. And then it gave me 5.1 all the way to 5.6. And that was because I felt the story there was too short. I wanted to expand on this part here. And then my next prompt is to say write a script based on this. And then it starts off opening shot of a beautiful blooming garden. A voiceover begins. My name is Aurora and I was blessed with the gift of magic. Cut to a shot. A beautiful young princess with long flowing hair standing in the garden. Blah blah blah. But my powers were not strong enough to defend my kingdom from the evil sorceress Maleficent. Cut to a shot of Maleficent, a dark sorceress, long black hair, spreading her dark magic across the kingdom. And it continues to go on and on and on, as you can see, you can read here. And it continues to introduce the rest of the characters into the story. And then there is a bit of the facing the evil villain. And as you can see, the last part here is quite short. The final showdown between the group and Maleficent, the group emerges victorious and peace is restored to the kingdom. I think this part here, there should be a lot more depth and a lot more scenes to it, but I didn't push it further. Okay, here's another example. Give me ideas for a movie, write it as a synopsis, make it a simple fantasy-based story. And then it comes out with the Cursed Forest synopsis. A young adventurer named Jack discovers a mysterious enchanted forest on the outskirts of his village. He can't resist the temptation to explore his ancient twisted past. As he delves deeper into the forest, he realizes that it is cursed and that he has been drawn into a dangerous game of magic and deception. With the help of a wise old hermit and a brave warrior princess, Jack must navigate the forest's many dangers and uncover the secret of the curse before it's too late. But as they journey deeper into the heart of the forest, they realize that the true enemy is much closer than they could have ever imagined. So this is quite interesting, but I said give me 3 more ideas like this. And it gave me 3 more. The Lost City, The Shadow King, and The Star Children. In the end, I thought, okay, the first one is probably a bit more simpler and easier to work with. So let's go with the first one. And then I said, give me an expanded version. So here we have a synopsis. We have the main character, Jack, and then he meets an old hermit along the way to his journey. And then they defeat the enemy, Morgana. And then we also have a brave warrior princess, Ella. And in the end, they defeat the dark sorceress, Morgana. And that's the end of the story. And the next prompt I gave was write the story outline with a beginning, middle, end. And the reason I did this is to try and simplify the story and see if it could just make everything easier to work with. Okay, next I said outline the beginning with scenes. And the reason I said beginning only is so that it focuses on the first part, and once that is good, I can just duplicate it across for the next two. Okay, so here we have scene 1, Jack is wandering on the outskirts of the village, and then scene 2, he goes deeper into the forest, scene 3, confronted by Marcus, a wise old hermit, and scene 4, Marcus agrees to help Jack. And maybe at this point you say, I don't like an old wise hermit, you can say the next point you can give it is to ask it to change this character and continue on after that. Okay, then the next part I said write a script for scene 1, and the idea is let's get scene 1 out first, and then we can move on to scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, and so on after that. So Jack is wandering in the outskirts of the village. Jack says to himself, there's got to be something more out here, some adventure, some treasure, something. I can't just stay in that village forever. And I can read on for this part here. The next prompt I gave it was give more visual description of the environment about Jack, and then add more camera shots in descriptions. So it does a pretty good job here. The camera pans across a dense ancient forest, the sunlight filtering through the trees. Jack is wandering. He's young, a curious, determined expression on his face. He's dressed in simple traveling clothes and carries a small pack on his back. He looks around, taking in the sights and sounds of the forest. And then the rest of the parts is quite similar as the previous. The next one I did do the same for scene 2. So at this point I was quite happy with scene 1 and how I wrote the description with the camera angles and the dialogue. So I said, okay, we can replicate this for scene 2, and then the next one we can do it for scene 3 as well. And you get the idea. We can do it for scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, and then we can ask it to do it for the middle section of the story and the end section of the story. Okay, here we are on our third example. Generate a few short movie synopsis ideas. We have 5 here. You can read. I chose number 4, Rise and Fall. So basically it's a story of Sarah, a CEO of a successful company, and she's accused of embezzlement, arrested, and then she stands trial, sentenced to prison. And then while she's behind bars, she tries to clear her name with the help of her husband and prison lawyer. And the conclusion is that she made it out of it in the end. And I felt that the story was quite brief in the conflict and resolution part. So I asked for more details here, and they managed to give a bit more, such as the mastermind behind it and how her inmates help her. And I continue to prompt it for more details about how they work on her case. And next one, I asked for a backstory of the main characters, what they are like. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, I decided to ask for a description of the places where the story takes place. And we have the 4 main areas: the office, the courtroom, prison, and her home. So this part here, I asked for more specifics on the characters behind the conspirators, or people behind the conspiracy, and their motivations. And he was able to create a character, James here, who was an ex-boss and former mentor. And we also have Maria, a rival at her company, and the motivations behind the plot were greed and desire for power. So the next part, I was quite happy with the details. I said create an outline of the whole story based on all of the above information. So it's longer than the earlier synopsis and the outline, and it's able to give more details based on what I prompted it for the details on the conspirators, things like that. Next, I asked it to break this down into acts and scenes. So act 1, act 2, act 3, scene 1, 2, 3, and 3 scenes for each. I think this is rather short, and it's because seems like ChatGPT usually doesn't create a whole lot of response in one prompt. So the next few prompts, I was trying to expand on the acts and the scenes because it seems too short. And first I said rewrite this, only focus on the act breakdown, create more if necessary. The next one I said rewrite this, create more into the fight, less into the rise. So I realized that the rise here is as much as the fight and the fall. I wanted that to be the greater part of the story here. So now with 7 scenes here is a lot more meat in the middle. So the next prompt, I wanted to continue to give more meat in the middle here. I said let's throw in some flashbacks about the characters, the conspirators into this part here. But unfortunately, it added a new act in the past here, which doesn't make sense. So I was trying to push it into the middle act here, and it didn't understand the prompt again. So I tried again and said I combine act 2 and act 3, mix the scenes together to tell the story behind the conspirators. So it did it here, act 2. It plays the flashbacks here, but the problem is that it's just right after the first scene and then the flashbacks, and then it continues to all the rest of the scenes. I wanted to be a bit more mixed in with the whole story, a bit here, a bit there kind of thing. But I think that's something that you have to work in once you move it out of ChatGPT into your own editor and play around with how you create that story and move things around on your own. And I would say that at this point, I'm pretty satisfied with the whole arc of the story. I'm gonna move on to the next prompt, which is to get a detailed breakdown of what it can give me in terms of one act or one scene. So I said for act 1, write a sub-scene for every scene, give me more details. So the problem is the scenes are quite short, they're quite brief. So I asked it for a sub-scene or give me sub-scenes of each part of it. So it's able to give me 2 more sub-scenes into each scene, which was quite okay. I can see that if I push it further, it can do more. And in my next prompt, I said, write Act 1, Scene 1 as a script, include descriptions of the environment, people, camera setup, and any additional details for production. And you can see Scene 1, setting, characters, camera, and action. So you can see there's also conversation, dialogue here that's written. I'm not going to read everything. In my next prompt, I say, give me more details of the camera shot for each part. And here it goes. Camera, medium shot, close-up shot, wide shot, and then action. Sarah enters the room, approaches, blah, blah, blah. The camera cuts to a close-up of Sarah's face as she registers the news. Impossible, I've always been careful with. So ChatGPT doesn't generate a whole lot of response in one prompt or one answer. So you can just say continue like that, and hopefully it continues with what it was going with previously. The company's finances, the camera cuts back to a wide shot of the board members. So at this stage, I'm quite happy with what it is able to generate. Of course, if you're not happy with the story or certain details, you can say rewrite this but change this and that. And my next 2 prompts, I said give some information on the time, place, where this takes place. This is for the set design crew to get inspiration, and I'm pretty satisfied with this. The scene takes place in present day in a major city on the east coast of the United States. The boardroom of Sarah's company is a modern, sleek office with floor-to-ceiling windows providing a view of the city skylines. The boardroom table is made of sleek black glass and surrounded by high-end leather chairs. And I also said give some details for the stylist crew, and it's able to give details of what Sarah is wearing, what the board members is wearing, and the police officers as well. So that's it. I hope this gave you some ideas on how you can use ChatGPT for creative projects.